Hey everybody, my name is Nick Moldock, and welcome back to another Real Talk. I know that we haven't been able to do this for a while. Unfortunately, projects have gotten in the way, and as things open back up, things get more busy. I know I use that excuse every single time, but unfortunately, we had a power outage in this area, and Matt won't be able to join me today. Um, Told him that it was okay just because I wasn't even sure if our power was going to be back on. But yeah, just really excited to be here today to talk about something that is incredibly special to me, which is the Cleveland 48-hour film project. Troubadour Films this year was able to have a team, and we were really excited to be able to create a project that I'll go into a little bit of details on, but overall, just really excited to be here to talk about that. That said, we are not alone, but before I bring my guests in, I will say that the 48-hour film project will be screening their projects at Lakeshore Cinema at 7 for Block A and 9:30 for Block B. We are a part of Block B, but we encourage every single person here to go out and see these projects because it is an incredibly fascinating and fantastic time when it comes to making these projects. That said, like I said before, I am not alone here today. Today we have Jason and we
Hey,
have
Nick.
a friend of the show, former guest, Matthew, here today to talk about their experiences with the 48-hour film project. We are waiting on one more person, like I said, but I decided we're going to start this up right now and we're going to get things going here. So, for starters, just introduce yourself, talk about how long you've been doing the 48-hour film project and your team name.
All right.
Jason? Yeah.
Okay. I I've been doing the 48 since 2014. I think I've done about 10 in total. I started as an actor with Cosmic Octopus, and TKF Films has been doing it since 2019. Yeah, TKF Films. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Matthew?
Um, this is my first year as a MMH Productions. In the past, I've written 48s for other filmmakers, and then besides the 48, I've done a 24-hour film fest, and the team is MMH Production for their first actual 48.
All right, that's awesome. So I've been doing the 48, not under the Troubadour Films name, but for years now. We've had plenty of teams under the Molbach Cinema name, but I was definitely glad to just drop my own name from that. Felt a little egotistical, but it never was meant to be. But so let's talk about the experience with the 48, because some people might not know what it is, and um, basically what we do is we go through and we draw genres out of a hat. We're given a few different necessary things to write into our script and show during the project. So let's talk about what was it like um, drawing the anticipation of drawing your genre at the kickoff event. You don't necessarily have to get into what your genre is if you're trying to keep that under wraps. I know that we are personally, but what was that experience like for you guys?
Um, that's always like certain things play to your strengths. Like we were hoping to get dark comedy. We were also hoping not to get film de femme because we seemingly get that every time.
Okay.
Um, but we drew film noir or sports film, which we were pretty excited about. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's always interesting because you have a couple maybe super vague ideas in your head going in, like, oh, like we know we have this location to work with and these actors to work with. That's about all the detail I can get into, but
Right.
yeah. But yeah, we were happy with our draw this time.
Good.
So.
Good.
When I went in to draw, I was hoping for horror because that's all I've done since 2017 is horror films. And I've done a lot of like side genres, so I told the team whatever genres we do get, we're gonna add in some horror elements into it.
Mm.
We drew luckily holiday or superhero, and because I've done so many Krampus films and Christmas horror films, it was an easy thing to get into for drawing holiday film to incorporate a Christmas horror for the 48.
And that is awesome. I remember there were genres that I was hoping not to draw. I remember one year, and I love your horror projects, but I remember one year I drew horror as our genre for the summer 48. And I don't remember what the other genre was, but I was just like, well, I guess we're gonna be running with horror because we can't do the other one. It might have been musical or something like that at the time. And I'm like, well, there's a horror 48 in October, so I almost felt like I was gypped there. But yeah, we are keeping our genre under wraps right now. But I can tell you the nerves were there this time around because we've drawn things in the past that don't necessarily play to our strengths that we were able to pull off. Um, and yeah, film de femme. I couldn't figure out what that was until I finally clicked on the thing on the side. But Bigfoot Anon in the comments saying that they love the 48-hour film projects. Did a few, and yeah, it's very expansive, the amount of different ones that are throughout the states and stuff like that. And I always find that the Cleveland one is incredibly popular. So now we're writing, and the writing process for us has always been very interesting because at times we would have way more people writing than we definitely should, and I found that narrowing it down to a few people who are doing the writing and approving it makes things a lot easier when it comes to these projects. So how was your writing process, and did you run into any problems there?
For TKF, we had 3 writers, and I think most TKF projects we've had 3 writers on. Competition wise, we've realized that seems to be the best number. Any more than that, and then there's too much stuff going on.
Yeah.
But with 3 ideas, with 3 minds working towards like a common goal, like I might throw out an idea and they both shoot it down. Like, no, it doesn't work. Somebody else might throw an idea out. Like some ideas stick, some don't, and we work really well together as a team. Julie Simon and Jerry Lee Tucker were the other writers with me, and they're both very talented, very good writers. So yeah, we didn't run into many issues at all writing.
Good.
And
like I said before, the only time I've done 48s was I used to be hired on as a writer for other filmmakers and write parts of their script for them. So going into this 48, it was only me as the writer for most of my projects. And again, with the help of the holiday style genre, I was able to get the script out within an hour and start doing all the production design that night of.
That's awesome. And I find it to be funny, still on the writing process, that obviously the 48 always gives you, if you go to the screening, 7 o'clock and 9:30 at Lakeshore Cinema on Wednesday, you are going to notice a consistency throughout the entire project. A character, a prop, and a line that you're going to hear throughout the entire thing. Was it difficult to implement the line, character, and prop into your project? Sometimes, some years, it's like I don't even know where they're drawing these things out of. A pizza pan was one year. It was really interesting, and as to how we were able to put that into the project. And I always have found that the occupation of the character sometimes does throw us for a loop. This year, I will admit, it wasn't the case for us, luckily, but which was funny because my filmmaking partner, Lou DiNardo, we're talking about how, that occupation that you have to include in the project always ends up just drawing just kind of an odd way to write the project at certain points for us. Luckily this year that was not the case, but yeah, want to go into the character, prop, and the line.
I think this year, I don't know who selects those, if that was Ron or what, but we didn't have much difficulty with that. Like you said, some years, the one year, the line, I love the smell of Cleveland in the morning or something like that. And I forget what the character was, but that one was kind of hard to integrate in. This year, we didn't have much trouble with it. So, yeah, I liked what they were.
Yeah, same for us, because with the prop is the mug and the character's the greeting card maker, incorporating like a card maker and a mug into a holiday film was really smooth sailing for us as well. And then the line of dialogue, I think it's probably best place throughout the whole film. I'm really enjoying where we put it and what we added after it, which I'm not going to get into detail of that part, but it's really cool how it's added.
And that's awesome because, like I said, some years it's like, oh, this is a shoe in. I could easily just place that into there. And then some years it's like, I can't figure out how to implement this occupation. And when I heard greeting card writer was going to be the character, it was just kind of like, oh wow, that is an incredibly interesting character. Because I think contractor was one year, so it's sort of easier to implement that into the project. But so when it comes to filming the project, obviously you're within a set period of time. A lot of people like to dedicate a lot more time to the editing process. A lot of people like to dedicate a lot more time to making sure that the project is shot in a good enough period of time. So how did shooting go?
Shooting went well for us. We wanted to basically start early Saturday. We didn't do anything Friday. We wanted Friday to be dedicated to writing.
Yeah.
Saturday to shooting. And we had a dedicated editor, which there's been times when our cinematographer was also editing. So basically, towards the end of shooting, or roughly halfway through, our editor came and picked up what we'd shot already and started editing what we'd already shot while we were still shooting. So that, by the time we got to see what he'd done, he already had half the stuff before we delivered, the end of the footage.
Shooting went well for the most part. It was fun because we had we had a 4-year-old on set and an 11-year-old acting as our main two leads. But I know Friday night was the writing, and then I did production design probably till 4 in the morning. I slept till 7 and made breakfast. We started at 8 in the morning. We wrapped up the filming around 4:30 p.m. I cleaned everything up, and then I started editing the project right after.
Okay.
Throughout the whole night, I got done at 6 in the morning, submitted the film, and I went to sleep for Sunday. But even like during the shooting, as the director, I'm also doing the camera operating, the lighting, and the audio, and then I do all the post work too.
Yeah, I find that you try and ask as many people as they possibly can, at least for us. Hey, you want to help out with this? And then something always ends up coming up. So, wearing a lot of hats. We actually had the most crew, I believe, that we've had in a while for this project, that we're incredibly grateful for, people that we've never worked with before. And those networking events really allowed us to bring in more people when it comes to these projects, because there's always people who are eager to get involved. I find it to be funny, Matthew, you bringing up the sleep situation. I don't know about you, Jason, but like it was rough for me this past 48. It was different.
Well,
yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say. So I actually got to sleep this weekend, but
nice.
So 2016. All right, I did something dumb. I joined one team as a writer and another as an actor. So the writing took place Friday night in Kent State. So I live in Niles, so I'm about an hour and 15 minutes out of Cleveland. Kent's like 45-minute drive. So I'm writing until like 5 in the morning, and then I get the script for a 9 a.m. call time in Mentor Saturday, and I'm going through the script, and they're like, "Okay, Jason, you're going to be Rock Hard Abs." And I'm looking through the script, and I'm like, "Wow, he's got a lot." And I just keep, and basically that weekend I was up for 44 hours straight.
Oh my gosh.
Like I did not sleep at all until like 2 a.m. Sunday. Like I drove home, which I probably shouldn't have done. I think I had like 5 energy drinks in that period, but
yeah, that was
so yeah, this past one was nice because I actually got to sleep a few hours Friday night and Saturday night.
I found, and I will just bring up for the people who are watching, if you have any questions about the 48-hour film project, feel free to comment them in the comments. But yeah, so I wear a few different hats when it comes. We came up with the concept while we were sitting there at Buffalo Wild Wings. It just something popped up in my brain that was like, that's got to be where we go. And then our writers who were there as well were like, all right, cool. So I'm driving them home. My co-host and I, Matt and I, were in the process of setting up one of the locations upstairs. While Lou and Kutso, who were our writers, were in the process of writing the project. It's funny because Lou and I were like, we need to find an interesting location, and obviously we don't need to get into locations if we're trying to keep them under wrap. But I will say that we were in the process of listing off different places that we had available to us, and I'm going, okay, this, that, and the other, and we're like, just don't use our houses this time, because we use our houses in like every single one of our projects. Lo and behold, we shot at both of our houses this time. So it's the fun of the 48 that you come up with this idea and you're thinking in your head, oh, well, we have a few ideas in our head. We have a few projects that we possibly could do. We don't want to obviously write anything beforehand because what's the fun in that? But we're like going, okay, we could probably do this here, this here, and this here. And then, yeah, we settle for our houses again for the 3 billionth time for a project. But yeah, so the post-production process, for me, it was we wrapped later just because of our genre, and then like by 5 a.m, I finally went to bed until 11, and I still had audio syncing and cleaning to do by the next morning. We were submitted very soon, but the editing process, how did that go for you?
I think that went well for us. Basically, Julie Simon and I went to our editor's house around 10 a.m. Sunday. He basically slept from like 4 until 10.
Yeah.
And he'd had the majority of the rough cut done already. So Julie and I gave him, actually Julie got there before I did. She gave him some notes. She was our director. Mm-hmm. She gave him some notes, so he implemented that. I think we got it turned in with about 45 minutes to spare.
Okay.
Yeah. Which I was getting antsy like once we got within like an hour, but we were actually in really good shape. So
I almost forgot that they had switched over to uploading it through a website this time. Because I was so used to having to go somewhere in order to drop it off and make sure that it was on time. And I like it, but at the same time, I will argue that I was having a little bit of trouble submitting forms and stuff like that. But Matthew, the editing process for you, how'd it go?
It was good. We wrapped up filming at 4:30. I was cleaning up till about 6:37, and then after we shooting, I was hanging out with some of the cast members, playing games and goofing off till like 7 o'clock. Then I came back home, exported all the footage. I did an assembly cut, and then I got another main cut done by like 2 a.m, and then I did audio fixing till 4, and then from 4 to 6, I did all the color correcting. And then I was exporting it, submitting it to the website. Took a nap, woke back up, and sent up all the paperwork. And I know I totally messed up that wrap-up sheet you had to fill in. And I got all the forms submitted in, but the wrap-up sheet is what I messed up on some things about. But the film was in, and that's all that really mattered to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I always fear that something's going to end up happening, that it's going to like mess up the exporting process, let alone the uploading process that they had to it now. But luckily everything went smoothly. I actually fell asleep around 5 a.m, and the reason why I was up as late as I was just because I had this jolt of energy after watching the project over. I'm like, well, I'm really happy with how this turned out. So now I actually can go through and edit a little bit more. But I fell asleep until about 11, and people are coming into my room like, hey, don't you have a project to be like working on right now? And I'm like, well, don't you think that I would have obviously had not fallen asleep if I wasn't like that far into editing it? So luckily everything went really well for that. So now we're here, and we are really excited to obviously show these projects. So do you guys have anything when it comes to the project? I know, Matthew, you said you had some props and stuff to show when it came to the project. I know your poster is done. Do you have any posters and stuff, Jason? Or
we do not have a poster right now. We had talked about something. I'm not sure where we're at on that,
we're
actually.
in the process of editing ours as well.
Yeah.
But you want to show off your poster, Matthew? And I think that is really awesome. The design is fantastic on that. Really, really enjoyed.
Yeah, it was my girlfriend all hand drew it, colored it all in on Sia. So it took we wanted to do it within 48 hours also. So then when we started shooting at 8, I sent her the pictures of the cast and crew and their outfits in the monster. And then after work, she was editing. She did all the line work, making the characters and the coloring for 2.5 hours. She sent me the poster, and then I added all the dialogue and words onto the poster, and that was done Sunday morning.
Nice.
That is really, really, really awesome. I really like that design. When I saw that, I was like, you were really quick to that when I saw that posted on Facebook as soon as it was. But so with the project being done, and I know that there's a first time for everything when it comes down to it, do you have any advice for anybody who might be getting into the 48-hour film project?
That's a tough one. It's best to go into the writing with a blank slate.
Mhm.
Never have more than 3 writers. If you can, keep it to 2 locations or 1 or 2 locations, so you're not driving everywhere when you could be shooting. Just have fun with it. I mean, have a team of people you know and trust, and just want to have fun. Because the 48's all about fun. I mean,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd say have fun also. And then what we do is I wanted to make sure I had a good cast before shooting. So I picked up some people I could work with. I know they're really good. They can memorize lines fast, which is good to have. And then if you can, try to get a crew, because I just do jack of all trades on the shoot, from pre-production to editing. I mean, I was posting stuff, but I had no takers for crew, so I just did it all again. But finding some crew is good to do.
Mm. Mine is absolutely, when it comes to the writing thing, is just keep it small. When it comes to the writing, I also, oh gosh, I had one in my head as I was thinking about it while you guys were talking. But when it comes to making your 48-hour film project, time management is something that you are going to learn on the fly for sure. Always make sure that you are, working with people that you're comfortable with working with. One of my bits of advice is, I remember we had reached out to a few people who weren't able to do the project, and we were like, listen, we're going to post it on Facebook, and we're going to just kind of try and share, see if anybody bites and see if anybody is interested. We wanted to fill the cast with really only 3 guaranteed roles, just because that's easy to write with. And a few days later, I get a notification saying that it was posted in the 48 group, and I was like, oh my gosh, people are now texting me nonstop asking me to be a part of my project. So my advice is always to explain to people, once you have a solid cast, that they would be alternates. And the only reason why I say that is, and always make sure that you know to tell people, if they can find a team in the meantime, make sure that they take that opportunity just in case. Because I remember we had all these different people reaching out to us when it came to doing the project, who did end up agreeing to being alternates, and a couple of them ended up finding teams, which I was really happy about. But the script that we wrote was grounded to those 3 talents that we had, and one of them was only in it for like a minute. So it was just always, make sure that people know and are aware that, like, if you don't want to do it, if you don't want to be an alternate, I completely understand. And yeah, reach out, always try and find cool locations and stuff like that, is because you can have a location in mind, at least, when it comes down to it, but kind of obviously be aware that something's going to throw a monkey wrench into that. But yeah, that said, if anybody has any more advice or things to say about the 48-hour film project, we'll wrap this up.
I think you pretty much covered everything.
But I mean, and the thing is if you're watching this video, this is truly a start to finish route when it comes to the 48-hour film project. Everybody does have their different experiences, but realistically, everybody kind of does the same, not the same thing, but like an idea of the same thing. I know that our philosophy is always kind of write Friday, shoot Saturday, edit Sunday if we need to edit Sunday. But no, I'd like to thank you two for coming on to the show. We really, really appreciate it. We're definitely more than happy to have you guys back on to talk about future projects in the future.
Awesome.
As always, the screening is going to be at Lakeshore Cinema. There's going to be 2 groups. I think that, like I said, both of us are in B, but I definitely recommend checking out all the amazing films when it comes down to it. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us today, guys.
Thanks for having us.
No, we really appreciate
And I
it.
know.
And that said, oh, sorry.
Just I know we were making a joke about it when we go to the screening that for like our monster, we were tempted to have the full monster just show up at the theater with all the makeup applied and
Nice.
stuff. But we're like, let's not. That's too much.
No, but that is the monster's head right there, right?
Yeah, we got the makeup piece, ears, and then the antlers still.
Oh,
Nice.
that is so cool. That
That's
is
awesome.
But again, thank you so much, guys, for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And make sure that you check out the 48-Hour Film Project screening this upcoming week at Lakeshore Cinema, 7 and 9 o'clock. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you.